All right. What's your name?
Robert Jackson Sr.,
And how old are you?
83 years old.
And you live where?
Natchitoches, 1046th Street, Natchitoches, Louisiana.
There you go. You and I are just out here talking and having a afternoon. You told me a story that I just have to get on film about the three things when the Emancipation Proclamation came out. I want you to tell me that story again. And number two, I want you to tell me again about your story about how you'd pick cotton in the morning and then you'd work and you could only go to school for 6 months a year. And those two things. Can we start with the three things, the story you told me about
Okay.
that?
You and I was talking about the lack of motivation that so many kids have today, especially low-income kids. And I told you that most of it, the problem they have is a lack of a family foundation. Uh, and I define what I consider family foundation. Teaching the do's and don'ts of life. Most of these kids now in the low-income area are coming from what I call non-structured family with no daddy in the house to head the family, no positive dad in the house. So therefore, they basically being raised up as renegades. Now there are some exceptions. There are exceptions to anything. So that's one of the problems that you have so many non-disciplined kids in the high-risk area of the community. And it only can be solved that if we had more family structure. Now the family structure goes back to 1863. In 1863, we had a president by the name of Abe Lincoln that signed the we call the Emancipation Proclamation. To make it simple, the Emancipation Proclamation gave slaves their freedom, because up until 1863, slaves were owned by a slave master. So that the United States government asked a black man when he was freed in 1863, what do you want on your freedom, from your freedom? And the three things that the black man said he wanted from his freedom in 1863 is just opposite what the vast majority of young black guys want today. I'm not saying all, vast majority want today. On my left hand, I'm going to state to you the items that most of young black men want today. On my right hand, I'm going to state to you the three things the black man wanted in 1863. And not only that, I'm going to give you the reason why they wanted those three things in 1863. The first thing in 1863, the enslaved, now free black man asked for, he wanted to be paid for work. And you might ask the question why? Because up until 1863, he worked for nothing. So he said, the only thing I want you to do, I don't mind working, just pay me. That's 1863. The vast majority in 2020, the vast majority, not all, the vast majority of the young black guys, they don't want to work. The second thing that the black man asked for in 1863 was the right to have a family. Because up until 1863, the young black children were sold by the slave master. So there wasn't no structured black family. So these free people said, let me have a family. And through 2020 here, and where we are now, most of the young black guys, they don't want no family. The only thing they want to do is have sex and produce a child and move on. And then that child becomes part of the discipline problem and imprisonment problem we have today. Because he goes out thinking that he can do whatever he wants to do in the public, because he coming from a home doesn't demand structure, command society. Don't do this and those things. The third thing the black man asked for in 1863 was the right to be educated. Because up until 1863, it was against the law for a black man to be taught to read and write. It was against the law. So he said, all I want to be able to educate myself and educate my family. Most guys, they don't go to school. They drop out and become victims of the system. So it's somewhere along the line that those type of things going to have to be turned around. If not, we're going to have a very lawless society. And I know what educators can do, officer, because I'm a living example of what education can do. You know, the Bible says you're not supposed to boast about your blessing, because God sees every day what you're doing. So I want to emphasize you, I'm not boasting when I tell you about my background. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right? The first thing, during the period of time, when I came up, people who like me only could go to school 6 months of the year, FMA. And we couldn't go until we got all the cotton out the field. If the cotton didn't come out the field until December, we didn't go to school in December. If the cotton was in the field in January, we had to get that cotton out the field and go to school in January. It was flexible that way. But
Was that only blacks or blacks and whites?
no, only black.
Okay.
Because that still was the attitude.
Children.
Yeah, that still was the attitude of blacks in education. All right, so what? So although, and in the book, the only book we had was hand-me-down book. How to find now what was a hand-me-down book? Was the book that white kids didn't need anymore. But I did not allow that to be a deterrent, officer. I had to be no deterrent. So I wind up finishing high school, getting a degree from Grambling College and a degree from Northwestern, and working in the system over 40 years. Not only that, if you go and look at my background, I was one of the 5 people in 1975 that drafted city charter or city constitution for the city of Nashville that still exists. That still exists today. So there's no excuse saying you can't make it, because I am a living example that you can make it.
It's more difficult for you to make it than the young men now?
No, they got it made. It's because of integration. They got it made. You don't have to worry about it. I don't have the new book. Sure, you're getting everything else the other child getting. Every other race getting. You sitting there at the same table. So if they get that book and study that book and don't spend all that time socializing, then you ought to do the same thing, because the American system is supposed to be competitive. Competitive. That's the only demand I ever had out of American system, to be competitive.
A fair shot.
That's right. Some of these boys, you can't even go and get them ready to vote. Let me tell you something, man.
They won't even register to vote.
Let me tell you something. When I was coming up, and I'm not going to try, it's good in it. And when I was coming up.
This barbecue's great, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Hospitality, whatever. The first thing he did is want to know if I wanted something to eat.
Yeah.
I miss that. That's from my grandmother. That's where I'm from.
Yeah.
You and I started this discussion off because I'm 50 now.
Yeah.
And I did not see the racial problems we had today. And that's what you and I even started talking about.
Yeah.
That's what you and I stopped.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I stopped and I asked you, could I get the phone so I could always have this conversation
Yeah.
on recording.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a blessing that I stopped by today.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
not stopping by as a police officer. I'm stopping by as a man.
Like I
I
told
just
you.
happen to be working right
I
now.
appreciate it. Like I told you, in the Afro-American community, that the perception that all police officers are bad is wrong. And I said, the only way we're going to be able to change that, by having dialogue like you and I have, let them know that the same way I believe, police officers believe. The only thing police officers want to have is respect from people they're dealing with, and in fact, but all that being aggressive, if you say stop. If you provide me something, you provide it, then you got no problem. But then if you're coming from structured home, parents teach that children that. But then you come from one of them homes that my child don't take nothing, getting that child, then the only thing you're doing is making damn fool out of your child, excuse me for that.
Yes, sir.
And so the child goes out in the public, think they can do whatever they want to do. And that's been the problem.
And it breaks down the whole
It
society.
breaks down the whole thing. It's wrong. It's totally wrong. But
And from my perspective, as a police officer, sometimes when you deal with 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 different people at the same time, you start getting
I'm
to
just,
where you're short. And you don't have the proper attitude that you did when you started
Yeah,
the shift
yeah.
that day. And sometimes
Yeah.
you say things you don't need to.
yeah. You see this paragraph right there? Do you remember Jimmy Saline? You know Skeeter Saline, you know him?
Yes, sir.
You know his brother Jimmy?
No, sir.
Jimmy wrote this book. But read that paragraph right there.
Was it's underlined?
Yeah.
The other leader in the black community who became my friend was high school teacher and athletic coach named Robert Jackson. Unlike Ben, which he's talking about, Ben Johnson, right?
Yeah.
Roberts was my age. Robert was my age. He was not connected in high places. He was a grassroots political operative skilled in door-to-door combat. While Ben lived in a big, expensive house, Robert lived in a tiny fixer-upper. While Ben had power in high places, Robert had power at the grassroots level. Power that was in ways greater than Ben's. That's you.
That's me.
And you're proud, aren't you?
Nah.
I mean, you're happy. I mean, you've accomplished a lot.
I'm at peace with myself. You know why I'm at peace with myself?
You should be proud of yourself. I'm
Yeah.
proud of you. I'm proud to know you. I'm proud that I stopped by today to talk to
And I'm
you.
gonna tell you who my son is. You probably know my son. You gotta be careful. My son is a former state weightlifter at Naggin Center, and he's a preacher. Call him Robert Jackson Jr. You heard of him?
I have.
That's my oldest son. That's my oldest son. He's a minister. I gave him a place down in Natchez. I'm gonna tell you another story, man. You got a chance to tell you what else?
Yeah, I told him I was busy for a minute.
Yeah, well, let me tell you this story. I know you want this. At one time in my life, man, I was out in the world. My children was grown, and I raised my children by myself. My wife walked off and left. My wife walked off and left me. Yeah, and I raised all my children in Niagara. Myself. So what happened?
How old were you?
Huh?
How old were you when she left?
About 23.
Okay.
But see, my mother told me. Remember I told you I was a bastard child.
Yes, sir.
I mean, born out of wedlock.
And then your father came back and
That's
actually
right.
helped you
And
become a man.
That's right. And she always emphasized to me, she said, if you ever get in the chair, take care of your children. Remember the experience you went through for a while. Take care of your children. So really that infiltrated in my mind. So when I wound up with them children, I said, eat my children. As a woman that left me, I'm supposed to try to take care of your children and make sure they become productive. And not a parasite to the system. And I've been halfway successful in that. And so what happened? One time I was teaching school in Naggin Center, and I was running a nightclub in Natchez. And my son had just started preaching, and he began to say, he called me Coach, and I called him Red. He said, Coach, he said, whenever you die, he said, I'm going to take that place down in Natchez, make a church out of it. The second place on the left-hand side in Natchez. Yeah, it says, hard after God's ministry. That's my son. I said, and I started telling him, okay, Coach, okay, Red. So he kept telling me that. And at that point, a young man, because he's 59, so he's a young man. Yeah, he said, he began to infiltrate my mind. I said, Red, I'm going to make a church out of this place when I die. So one night, man, one Saturday night, I came home from down in Natchez. I think I had made about $1,200. counting my money, put my money on my pillow. And man, I had a dream. I had a dream. And this what the dream is. This what the dream was. The Robert Jackson. So you a fool. So you absolutely a fool. You hung up over material things, and you're gonna lose your soul. And your son out there trying to save souls, and you corrupt him. How can you be a father figure for him on those conditions? Look here, man. At about 3 o'clock that morning, during that period of time, you come outside and sit on your steps. You can't do it now, you know.
Right.
You know, you better not come out there with no brief, not sit on the step here. Y'all be calling the damn ambulance to pick you up. So what happened? I called my son. He lived around the old river. Called him, told him to come up to my house. And when he pulled up there to my house, I'm sitting there on the step with my keys in my hand, in my brief, man. And he said, Coach, he called me Coach. Remember I told you he called me Coach, man. I called him Red. Yeah, Red. He said, do I need to take you to the doctor? I said, no, because I'm an asthmatic. He thought I had asthma. He said, are you all right? I said, yeah. He said, you sure I need to take that? No. I said, I'm going to be all right. I'm not feeling so bad. I said, if I tell you what I want you to do, I want you to take these keys. And he thought I'd give him the keys to open the place up the next day because I was sick. He said, now, Coach, let me tell you something. He said, I love you. I love you. He said, but now I ain't gonna open no place. I said, no, Red. I said, well, he said, what you want me to do? I said, you know, you've been telling me the last 2 years that whenever I die, that you gonna make a church out of this place down there. He said, oh, Coach, I just be joking with you. You know, you and I joke. I said, well, you don't have to joke no more. He said, what? I said, take these keys. He said, how much me and my congregation going to pay you for this place? I said, no, I'm giving you the place. But I'm not going back down there until you make a church. I said, what about food table? No, I said, give it away, whatever you want to do. I ain't going back. And I did not go back after almost 20 years ago, man. I did not go back down. And I haven't missed one beat in my life by doing it. I probably live longer because I ain't got any stay up all night like I used to. But man, I want to hold you from the job, but I enjoy talking to you, man.
Look, it's a blessing I stopped by. And, man, I'm going to come and see you again.
Not only that, I'm going to give you him to go to church with me one time.
Where?
Down in Nashville with my son.
I will give you my...
And it's biracial.
I'll give you my word, I'll go. It doesn't matter, believe it or not. I have gone to a couple of majority black churches right here in this area, and they're kind of shocked when I get there. But after I'm there, they're very happy and very, it's the warmest place in the world, which comes from whenever I was younger, we didn't have the racial problem we have now. We did.
You know the lady who teaches English at the high school out there, Roland? Tall lady?
No, sir.
White lady? She one of my son's assistant pastors down there. She teaches literature and English at the high school. All right, so
I'll give you my word, I'll come.
Well,
every Sunday?
Dress casual, ain't all that old dress stuff though. My son don't believe in that. He doesn't believe in that at all. At all.
I got you.
Just come casual
well, don't be surprised when you see me now.
No.
I'm gonna go.
All right, I enjoy it, man. I enjoy it.
You're a blessing to me.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm very happy.
Thank you, man. Stop by. You're going to always see me around here. I know you always see this old white truck. I'll tell you another thing I do. I use this place to talk to them high-risk guys about life. I don't need this place to survive. This is my recruit. You have to put it in there. I'll get you.
This is the plate you gave me.
Yeah.
You know, one of the reasons I'd stop to talk to you is I would love to stop and talk. Sometimes the men in high risk deal, because I came from some of that myself, where we didn't care about a family. We went through different women this or this
Oh,
that,
yeah.
and that's what the streets were. But you know, I would love to help.
Anytime.
I want to talk. I
Oh,
want to
yeah, yeah,
share
yeah.
some stories. I want to let them know how crappy that road is.
Anytime. Anytime. Yeah. And look, and when you see some of them boys, yeah, and don't be, just stop with where I'm at. Don't worry about it. Because you see, one of the problems the so-called middle-class blacks have, they're more afraid of some of these boys than you all are.
But they can't show it.
They can't show it. But look, man, but look, but I ain't afraid of them. I'm not afraid of them, see? Because how can you, explain.
You know, I never looked at it that way, really. You know, that when they won't talk to us and we actually trying to help and I get frustrated, they scared.
The other thing is that the black preachers have a problem. The people that they getting in the church house are not the ones they really need. If you remember in biblical, the Pharisees, and make a notation, and go to the scripture and say, Coach, come back by my mouth. You lied to me yesterday when you told me about the Pharisees. The Pharisees was a group of Jewish people who looked upon Jesus Christ as being a joke. I always try to make him look bad, catch him in a lie, so forth. All right? So, Jesus Christ went to a low-life supper. During that period of time, the tax collector was considered low-life because they was always imposing upon people to pay tax. Prostitutes. So yeah, Jesus Christ, look here, man, sitting at this table eating supper with the prostitutes, the pimps and the gamblers and all those people. And these so-called big shots, Pharisees walked in there. And he asked, they asked the disciples, said, what are you doing? What the hell? The street term, what are you doing here? What are you, low-life folks? And so Jesus Christ heard what he said. And he got up from the table and came out over where they were. And I quote these two things he said. Two things he said. I want you to remember. He said, when someone is sick, they need a doctor, which is true. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
And the second thing he said, I didn't come to the earth. He said, Jesus Christ is God in the flesh. Jesus, I go back and check on it. Jesus Christ is God in the flesh. He came to earth. Because Jesus Christ was put into the stomach of Mary. Joseph didn't impregnate Mary, am I correct?
Yes, sir.
So God put Jesus Christ. And the reason why he done that and brought him to earth, because he didn't want us, I'm going to go back where I was, he didn't want us to not to say, well, I'd have lived a different type of life if I would have known. Yeah, I'm going to go down on earth. I'm going to tell them the do's and don'ts. If they want to come up to heaven later on after death, these are the things they're going to have to do, so they won't have no excuse. So he came down physically as Jesus Christ and began to preach in the world. All right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so yeah, he had this supper. And so he said, a man sick, hell, he needs a doctor. And then the second thing he said, man, I did not come to earth to save those that are already saved. I came to earth to save the unsaved. That's the same philosophy you operate out. You don't patrol this community for those people who are respecting the law. You patrol this community to take care of those people who are not enforcing and not respecting the law. They enforce the law.
Yes, sir.
Think about it.
Yes, sir.
And so what happened, my interpretation of that is that the church is supposed to be recruiters of those who are not saved. Okay? Because there are two examples. You should have recorded.
I got it on.
All right, there are two examples in Scripture, and I want you to go, when you get a time break, I want you to read it. There are two examples in Scripture about that. You remember the story of prodigal son? Prodigal son?
No, sir.
All right. Prodigal son, there was a man who had two sons. Very wealthy man. Had two sons. He's getting old in age, man. Now this biblical, this ain't a lie.
I think I remember now that you're talking about it. But go ahead.
And he's getting old in age. And so he realized that he needed to go on and sell his business with his son before he died, because he didn't want them acting doing fool over this mine.
Right.
You're not.
That we see that to this day.
All right.
Yeah.
So what happened? He divided his property among two sons. One son took his half, man, and left and went out in the war. Started good time and running windmills and all that type of stuff. The other son stayed right there with his dad. Continued going to work every day, come home smelling, working hard every day. The one that took his money and left, and you know what it always happens, is that the money ran out in the street. He got on his ass. All right, the dad had a bunch of workers on the farm working for them. So you know how men hang out after work. So guess who? Some of the daddy's workers found out hanging out at the bar. That boss son broke on his ass, begging. You know, people guys running, man, buy me a beer and all that type of stuff. He said, well, this is boss son, man. Boss gave him all that money. Let's start talking to him. He went on to him, yeah, man, I've been running the women, doing all these things. I'm on my ass, man. He said, man, why don't you go on? Come on back and ask your daddy here. Man, I ain't gonna miss that. You know how to remember, man. So the workers came back and told that boss, the boss, we ran across your son, and man, he in bad shit on his team. So the daddy said, oh really? Yeah. I said, well, if you see that boy again, tell that boy that he come back home. Now the son that's working here, this stupid man, the son that's working here, the daddy ain't told him nothing about that at all. That he communicating with through one of his workers with the other son, his brother. That one continue going to work back and forth every day. So the worker ran across the one that left and told him, man, so your daddy said, now I want you reading this prodigal son. And I want you to stop back by you for the weekend. The coach out ran across. Okay, all right.
Okay.
All right. So the worker came back and told the dad about the boy in bad shape, and the dad told him the worker go tell him to come back home. The worker went to him, said, come back home. Dad said, you come back home. So when the worker came back and informing the man's son that he come back home, he came back and told boss that he said he's coming. So the boss was glad he know that his son was coming. He haven't told the other son nothing. He haven't told him nothing, man. So the boss tells one of his workers, said, look, man, they go out there, this is for the wealthy man. They go out there and get the best looking beef I got out there. Put him on the pit and invite the whole community. So we're going to celebrate my son come back home. Now his brother don't know a damn thing how that man working hard in that field every day. So, yeah, so the workers went down there. So, yeah, invite all the community. So they're out there having a big old feast at the boy's dad's house. So the other boy come out the field from work, smelling, been working on. He said, well, what the hell going on in my dad's house? Okay, ain't dead. The closer, you know when people drinking and going to get loud and shit. The closer he got to the house, man, the louder they got. So he got there. And then he looked, seen all the people, and man, he all filthy and so forth. And he asked his dad, he said, Dad, I said, what's going on here? He said, we got a celebration. Celebration for what? Say your brother back home. I said, well, Dad, hell, he left me. He left you. I've been here with you. He said, yes. You was not lost. Your brother was lost and now he found. So we celebrate. So the scripture says, Jim, whenever we can save one person, how many may be, we celebrate. Okay?
Yes, sir.
That's the prodigal son. One of them, another parable is in there. The man said shepherd had 100 sheep. 100 sheep. Had them in a fence. One of those sheep got out of that fence. You know what the shepherd done? Biblical. He left on the 99 and went looking for that one. And when he found that one, the Bible said they celebrated. Because the 99 was not lost. How many was lost?
One.
Life's supposed to be the same way, but we live it opposite. Life was supposed to be the same way, but we live it opposite. You see, and I'm gonna close this because you probably won't stop no more. I'm running my, but
No.
you see, you know as well as I do. We live in this world, and this world is sinful, right? When did sin begin? Adam and Eve. And all of us will be offspring of Adam and Eve, right?
Yes, sir.
So when a person born into this world, he's born into what? The sin. And he born into this world, he's born into sin. Because there were no sin. Okay? So your body has, spiritually, your body has to be like a vaccine. You take a vaccine to beat off some type of illness, right?
Yes, sir.
Your spiritual value, think about it now with this old coach saying, your spiritual value is the same way. Your spiritual value is supposed to modify your behavior in this world. The greater your spiritual values are, the cleaner you're supposed to be. Because in the world. Because the world is sinful.
And it takes work.
And it takes work. It takes work. Yeah, the thing how stupid, yeah, you see all these beautiful things in the world with your eyes.
Right.
And yeah, you believe in something that you never seen. Think about it now. Am I right or wrong?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
huh?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's right. Well, you believe in something that you never seen, so you have to be. So you got to be strong. The heart got to be strong. So every day we fighting that.
You have to do the work, or you're a victim.
Exactly. So what you see me talking about now, and family value. I spend my time talking to you young boys, these young guys who
And you know what? I remember when I was a young boy, and I did go off the path some, and I've done my drinking and my things like that. But for some reason, that little seed that the elderly men stopped and took time for me when I was young, every once in a while I would remember them men, and sometimes I wouldn't make a decision with them other boys that they did.
Exactly.
Probably the only reason I'm a policeman now is because of them elder men says, hey, they planted a seed in me that stayed with me my whole life, and I didn't make some of those decisions.
Exactly.
So you never even know the good that you've done, how far down it does help.
Exactly. But now
you got to go after that one all the time.
Exactly. You know the greatest blessing I have, man, when these little high-risk boys come up to me, the man coach, you treat me like I was a human being when I was junior high school. So some of them would be tough. I don't have one that I've dealt with that walk come up to me to coach you are no good old SOB because you done me so and so and so in high school. I don't get that. The worst one treat me with utmost respect, and that
means the world to me.
That means the world to me. You can't buy it. Just like a relationship with a woman. Am I right, brother?
You can't buy it.
You can't buy it. You can't buy that type of thing. But that's what the crisis are, man. And I appreciate you stopping. And you're welcome to stop anytime.
I'm going to go to church with you. I give you my word.
All right.
I'm going to stop. And look, what is today? I don't even remember the date. It's 8.
I think the the 15th, Saturday, the day all of it. 8 or 9.
It's August of 2020. That's good enough.
Yeah.
What year were you born?
1938.
And you said you used to pick 300 pounds
I
of cotton
picked
a day.
300 pounds of cotton a day.
And you could not go to school until that cotton was out of the field.
That's right.
So the white kids had 6 months on you.
Exactly.
And you didn't let it stop.
No.
Got a master's degree.
Exactly. And retired in the system. I taught school here for 40 years.
All right.
Yeah, I taught school right here in Nagger for 40 years. All these
Mr. Robert, I love you. I'm glad I came by.
Thank you.
All right. Then we'll stop it.
All right.